Hello everybody, welcome to another Friday Ramblings. I'm your host, of course, David Horton. And we do thank you for once again joining us on Roulette Productions. Now, this video is going to be a little bit different because instead of talking about one specific subject, I'm going to go ahead and give you a bit of a roundup of what you're going to expect over the next several weeks. See, the simple fact of the matter is, while generally I do try to respect every major holiday on our calendar and therefore try not to overlook holidays because of one that's coming a little bit later, you know, September kind of has Labor Day right at the start, but then after that there's really nothing major. And when you look at that and the fact that the Halloween seasonal stuff is already in store, combined with the fact that this is my favorite holiday by far, I've decided that not only are we going to do some Halloween related movies, comics, video games type talk, but we're going to do it for several weeks. We're going to start here in September. We're going to go all the way through till Halloween. Now, since I only do one of these videos a week, hence the name of the show being Friday Ramblings, as I said, it's really only going to be several episodes. It's not like it's going to be this, advent calendar one-a-day thing. While I could pretty much plan out enough stuff to talk about when it comes to the spooky and supernatural to encompass, 50-odd days, since we did miss the first chunk of September here. It's a little overkill, and with my day job and the Twitch channel and the book editing and trying to have a social life, it would be something I could not live up to. So I'm not even going to promise you that much, at least not this year. Hey, maybe in a few more years, situation changes, I can do a massive marathon like that. Big. Crazy. But, as I said, for right now, we're going to stick to our normal once-a-week schedule, but from here on out, everything's going to be spooky and supernatural because it is the reason for the season. So, real quick, since this episode's kind of the intro to this all things supernatural theme, we're going to go ahead and most likely make it a little short, and more importantly, I'm going to get into why I care so much about Halloween, why I care so much about spooky supernatural things. And, well, it's not a simple answer. It's not something I can just point to one thing and go, yeah, that's the thing. There is, however, a few things I can point out. One, being a gentleman in the back half of my 30s, I was a child when the first two Ghostbusters and the real Ghostbusters cartoon first hit. As such, even as a young child, I was exposed not to just the idea of ghosts, but that ghosts aren't something you immediately have to run away from. Not to mention, even though he was kind of at a lull until my kind of preteen era when his live action movie came out, Casper was around. I was aware of him. But, you know, Ghostbusters was a major influence on my childhood. I spent a lot of time with the cartoon and the toys related to the cartoons. I had the little toy power pack with the blaster. I mean, yes, I can be super technical and specific. It is a proton pack and a neutrino wand. That's the point. I can nerd out. Those of you who have checked out our related RouletteProductions.com website and specifically have looked at my archive of written articles, and yes, I swear to all things spooky, that one day I will actually write something again on there. I have talked a lot about the Ghostbusters. I have discussed the anniversary novel, Ghostbusters: The Return. I've discussed a couple different minis produced by IEW. I did a great article on the Omnibus, which was the first couple minis and one-shots that IDW did before they launched the major ongoing Ghostbusters series. And I encourage you all to go ahead and, while you're waiting during the usual weekend between episodes, go check out those written articles. And yes, there will definitely be during this time an article about Ghostbusters in and of itself as a meta franchise because it fits the holiday theme. One of the other things, sorry about that, little itchy there. One of the other major reasons is, and I'm going to get a bit autobiographical here, I don't normally like getting too much into personal information, but I do live in the state of Georgia. It's more specifically, I grew up in Savannah, Georgia. Now, Savannah, Georgia, for those people who are not big on American history, especially the history of the state of Georgia, Savannah is the original city in Georgia. It was the first state capital, and since Georgia is one of 13 original colonies, that means it is really one of those first relative handfuls of cities in the United States of America, period. It is a very old town that thankfully has done as great a job as any city in America of preserving its historical areas. But like any really, really old area, there is a lot of energy in that. The energy of the living and the energy of that which used to live. Now, if you're not a believer in the supernatural, that's fine. But the fact is, a lot of people in Savannah believe. To the point that even before I lived there, and throughout the entire time I lived there, it was just one of those things that everybody in the town kind of knew about, is that a large chunk of the historic section of Savannah is haunted, and as such, there have been, for decades now, haunted tours during the Halloween season, as well as various investigations by paranormal scientists. Hell, I mean, this is how much the whole haunting ghost culture is in Savannah. Alright? This right here. Yes, Savannah specters and other strange tales. Now, this in itself isn't that impressive. I mean, it's a really good book, you know, for what it is, a documentation of real-life alleged supernatural occurrences. Again, you kind of have to believe in that stuff to see anything worthwhile in the book, but, you know, to each their own. While this is nowhere near the only book about Savannah's haunted history, here is the key. I first read this book in elementary school. In the school library. That is the culture of the city I grew up in. It was just so understood that ghosts are a thing that the elementary school library I mean, there's technically more than one elementary school, but the one I went to. The library had books telling children, hey, ghosts are real and they're in your city. Potentially in your house if you live on the proper side of town. Now, while I was in Savannah, I did see some things that, you know, with my perception, I felt were supernatural. There was definitely an energy in the air. Now, this was after I came to the idea that this stuff was real. You can always argue my mind was preconditioned to want to see this stuff, and I'm not going to argue that. We're not going to get into the debunking. But this is what I'm saying, folks. The reason I love Halloween, the reason I love all things spooky and supernatural is multifaceted. It's the time I grew up in, when one of the greatest comedy, cartoon franchises based in the supernatural was born and thrived. A city that loved the fact that it has many, many buildings that even people that don't believe in ghosts go into and say, okay, there's just something about this place I don't want to be in here. There's just something in the air that's a little off. But there's a big third factor. Now, yes, I'm using the ring finger, folks. I promise I'm not flipping you off. That is the third finger. See, it's right next to pinky. Third factor, number 3. Well, yes, there were plenty of stuff I was able to watch on a fictional level that gave a variety of perspectives on all things spooky and supernatural. Just as big was another thing. And that is, you know, again, right around the time I was hitting early adolescent, preteen years, tweener, whatever your preferred language is. At that age where, you know, you start really kind of picking up different hobbies and setting childhood things away potentially, or keeping stuff around for life. I came across a show that it jumped a few networks in its time, as these kind of documentary style shows do, but a show called Sightings. And it was, much like many things that came after it, and a few things that had come before, a paranormal investigation show. But here's where the key is. They did it not from this jump scare, guys walking around with night vision camera nonsense that you get today. Now, I'm not debunking all those shows. I'm not trashing all those shows. I was a big fan of Ghost Hunters for a while there. Last couple seasons, I admit, they were getting kind of chintzy. But, you know, that's between them and the producers and the entire audience. I've never met them. I've never discussed with them why they seem to focus less and less on cases where they were able to debunk everything to provide that balancing act. But, you know what, that's a topic for another time. As I said, this is going to be a relatively short video. The bigger thing about all this is, as I said, the show Sightings. This was done more in line with news programs of the time. You would have, yes, the eyewitness accounts of people who saw different things. And it wasn't just ghosts. There were ghosts, UFOs, reincarnation, psychic abilities, just everything under the supernatural paranormal umbrella. But the attitude the show always took was not, we want you to believe, we want you to walk away feeling spooked, but here are people who have experienced something. They're going to explain to you what they experienced. We're going to offer you any evidence that's been collected that may back up what they say. But it is all going to come from the stance of, this is providing information. It is up to you to do what you will with that information. You can believe these people's stories or you cannot. And that's what made the show excellent. It is to this day, I have never seen another show of the same idea, investigating the supernatural, done with that level of respect to the spreading of information with minimal bias. I'm not going to say no bias, that's almost impossible due to the nature of human psychology, but minimal bias. They gave you information, they let you decide for yourself what you think happened, and they did it with a great sense of balance. Not just, oh, decide for yourself, but, for instance, they did episodes discussing, oh yeah, here's some ghost photographs that nobody can figure out, but here's some ghost photographs that have been debunked. By the way, here's how they were faked. Here's some UFO photographs. They're all fake. We're going to show you how they were made. They had no problems admitting there are a lot of hoaxers and con artists out in the world of the supernatural. They wanted their audience to know how to find the obvious tells of a scam for themselves. Again, how many of the modern shows will do that? Will even admit hoaxes exist, let alone tell you how they're pulled off? As I said, sightings jumped a few networks. It ran between all those networks for several seasons. Obviously, every time it jumped networks, some subtle changes were made, but it was a great series. It came at a time where I could have latched on to other hobbies, but by presenting this information in a balanced, hey, there's stuff we can't explain, there's stuff we can easily explain. You got to look at all sides of the picture because that's the nature of what we're dealing with. It helped me stay hooked for life on the things that we can't explain that creep us out a little bit, mostly because we can't explain it. It's not something that's part of our everyday world that we have easy control over. But ultimately, the biggest reason I love Halloween, it is the only major holiday we have in America where people are encouraged to stop being themselves. For one night, you can immerse yourself in another character. Go out with other people and be other people. Give your life a break in the most complete sense. Hey, you're a lawyer. You're a lawyer every other day of the year. One night, don't be a lawyer. Don't think about lawyering. Be a pirate. Enjoy it. Let your brain rest on lawyering and embrace pirate. And then November 1st, guess what? You'll be mentally and spiritually refreshed because you let it rest. Yeah? You're a teacher. Well, now you're a brainless zombie. Enjoy it. Go revel in the fact that you are not responsible for educating anybody this night. That you don't have to be intelligent. You don't have to answer questions. You just gotta shamble around and smell like you just dug yourself out of a grave. And then when it's all said and done, you get great food. It's a holiday built on junk food. Have candy. Have candied apples. Hell, stick your head in the water and pull one out with your teeth. I'm sure it might look like you're drowning for a second there, but that's part of the fun. You're cutting loose. It's a wonderful holiday. And the whole season leading up to it is wonderful. Where we confront the things that weird us out and creep us out, that we can't explain and we're not sure about, and we go, you know what? It's okay that it's out there. It's okay I can't explain it. It's okay I can't understand it. It's okay if it makes me feel a little spine tingly. Because that is what makes life exciting. And with that, I'm gonna tie this up in a little bow. Until next week when we start hitting our specific spooky subjects. See? SSS. That is called alliteration. That one was for the English teachers and the English majors. I know you're out there. Enjoy your next week. Don't think about what comes after October 31st. I'm begging you. Don't think about that holiday in December yet. Don't even think about that holiday in November. No dissing either one of them. But this is September. This is fall. It's time for Halloween to have its moment. It's time for the things that go bump in the dark, that live in your closet and under your bed. Woo! Were you scared of that? Thought something bad had happened, didn't you? It's all gonna be fun from here, folks. They're coming to get ya, but I'll be here to protect ya. See you in 7.